me present.
Let's hope that works. Yes, it does.
You see? Okay. All right. So hi everyone. My name's Mansan. I'm a medical illustrator, and I will tell you a little bit about that today. I have a Master of Science in Biomedical Communications from U of T, and I'm also a certified medical illustrator. So today we'll walk through what medical illustration is. I'm sure a lot of you are curious and haven't really heard of that career path. The various graduate programs you could apply to, some of the work that I do and others in my field do, and just kind of a blitz through my career path, and also some hobbies that I'm interested in. So what is a medical illustrator? Medical illustrator, we are expert visual communicators. We're artists at heart. So many of us have fine art training, but some of us don't. And we receive additional training when we apply to those graduate programs. We're well versed in 3D visualization programs, as well as being able to decipher medical images and other technologies related to communication and learning. We use both halves of our brain. So we're artistic, and at the same time, we're very analytical and scientific. So I'll talk a little bit more about the graduate programs, but many of us have a Bachelor of Science, and within our graduate programs, we get additional training on topics like pathology. And for when I was in school, I actually got to do cadaver dissections and learn anatomy alongside the U of T first year medical students. And that was an amazing experience. I believe they still do cadaver dissections, not alongside the medical students, but they still have that training within the programs. And in addition to that, we also got to observe surgical operations and learn how to do surgical illustrations as well. It was a very, very good experience. Medical illustrators were advocates for health literacy. And you'll see in a bit that although the umbrella term for us is medical illustrator, we don't just illustrate, we also animate, we create games, any sort of science and art visual medium. So here's like an example of why we do what we do. A lot of times there's scientific content that's a little bit complex. Our job is to distill that the research from scientists and also the knowledge from healthcare providers to something that's a little bit more pleasing to the eye and also easier to parse the information that is being presented. So here we have a Reed-Steinberg cell, and at my work at Access Studio, we kind of gave it a makeover, a glow up. But all the work that we do is thoroughly researched so that we're presenting the right type of information, but in a way that's a little bit easier to understand without the kind of the chaos of the visual noise that you normally see in histological slides or CT scans or just a plain wall of text from research papers. So I'm going to go through some of the graduate programs. There are 4 accredited graduate programs in North America. I believe that there are places that you can train in Europe for medical illustration, but it's not an accredited program. And most recently, I heard that there was like a program at UBC as well, but I'm not too familiar with that program. But I'll talk about the 4 accredited graduate programs. So there's one in Augusta University in the States. and you get a Master of Science in Medical Illustration. And just to showcase the type of work that graduates can do, this is an image from Joshua Kleen, and he worked with various neurosurgeons and medical residents to create a neurosurgical atlas to help teach neurosurgery. And I'm sure everyone is very familiar by now of this image from the CDC. And this image was created by a graduate of a student from the University of Illinois in Chicago. So uh, this image is probably one of the most famous images, especially like right now. It's been used in various news outlets to kind of articulate various issues we've had with this pandemic. And yeah, it was created by one of the graduates of the medical illustration program. There's also John Hopkins University, and you get a Master of Arts in Medical and Biological Illustration. One of the features that this program has that I believe the other programs don't have is that they have training for developing prosthetics as well. So this is student work done by now a graduate called Mike Silver. And he made a beautiful prosthetic eye. And last but not least is the program that I graduated from University of Toronto. It's a Master of Science in Biomedical Communications. And this image was created at a studio that I work at in Toronto that was founded by 3 graduates from this program. So I'll talk a little bit about the studio and my work. So these are the 3 founders of my program. Sorry, 3 founders of the studio that I work at. Um, Going from left to right, there's Sonia Amin, Eddie Juan, and Jason Sharp. So AXS is represents their last names. And here, I think this was last year, or sorry, 2 years ago maybe, we were celebrating the 15th anniversary of our studio, and Eddie and Jason are holding up a newspaper clipping. And it's actually my newspaper clipping that I got when I was in grade 8, so sort of around your age. And that's how I first learned about medical illustration. My mom clipped out an article, and it featured both Jason and Eddie in that article, talking about their experiences at the U of T program and their plans for the future. So it's kind of interesting how that went full circle, and I ended up working for them. So I think I've been blabbing on for a while, so um, I'll just show you, hopefully the audio works, but I'll just show you our demo reel that we're working on right now as a brief overview of the type of work that we do at our studio. Sarah just told me that the audio's not working. I will. I don't think we need to play it again, but we can. You can watch this link a little bit later. It is a little bit better with the music and sound effects. But basically, that's some of the work that we do. And a lot of the work that I personally do at Access Studio is the visual research, which then translates into the medical animations that I just showed. Um, Other work that we do includes kind of interactive experiences and games. And so for my studio in particular, our work is usually featured at pharmaceutical trade shows. So that's when healthcare professionals kind of get together and attend talks and get training and kind of get um, the the kind of overview of what kind of drugs and research that's new that's out there. So we kind of create beautiful imagery to attract these healthcare professionals to learn a little bit more about our client's product. So you'll see snippets of like what that will look like in this show reel. This is more showcasing the games and interactive work we do, but it also showcases like what a trade show kind of uh, area looks like and where our work is displayed. So I know the audio isn't working, but maybe I'll just talk over while we play this. Um, so yeah, there are games and wall mount displays, um, hologram. That's me. So I also, because I'm one of the shorter people at my studio, and I was the only one that could fit under the green screen, I was used as our VR actress. So that was me. And I'll include links later so you can watch these videos again. And there's a lot more on our company's website, so you can take a look. Oops, sorry. Um, Other work that we do that's not for pharma, we also work on like documentaries, and this piece in particular is for a magazine called Scientific American, and this is just kind of like a breakdown of the process that went into it. So there are sketches, and then we go back and forth with an art director, and eventually we come up with the final piece that's printed. And beyond the work that I do at my studio, there's also a lot of different avenues that you can go into. Here I'm showing work from a studio in Toronto called Artery Studio, and they do medical legal work. So they help illustrate medical malpractices or car accidents to help kind of communicate the case and the issues within the case. Other work that can be done. Prior to working at Access, I also worked at a hospital. I did mostly patient education work, but this group, TVA Surge, I also worked with closely. They've been doing amazing stuff. They work on a surgical video atlas to teach surgical residents the surgical techniques. And in addition to that, they've been exploring with some VR work. So I'll just show a clip of that. So the models that they use is actually distilled from patients' medical scans, and they create 3D models from that. And this is kind of demonstrating how they can understand the space between the vessels, and I believe that's a tumor that they're describing within a liver. So lots of things, and as technology grows, so does our field. And medical illustrators, we adapt to that, and it kind of allows us to do so many new and exciting things. Um, Oops. So I'll just blitz through my career path. It hasn't exactly been a straight career path. I've always loved art. I started selling kind of my my work when I was 11. So this is me. and um, and then I always thought like, yeah, I'm gonna be an artist. I sold paintings. This is me in grade 8 painting a tiger in my on my bed. Um, and I did a couple murals. I also worked with like a music production company, and at the end of all of that, I was very um, I didn't understand the business side of things, and I didn't know how to charge. So I thought that it wasn't a viable career to continue being an artist. Um, and although I knew about medical illustration in the back of my mind, I just didn't think that it was a possibility for myself. So I gave that up, and I went into studying environmental science in 2007, which is where I met Sarah. And I heard that some of you guys were born in 2007, which is crazy. Makes me feel old. Um, but yeah, so after studying in environmental science for a while, I realized I really missed art and I needed it back in my life. I looked at that article that I showed you guys a little bit earlier, and I decided that I had to give it a try. I continued my degree since the application process for some of the graduate programs encourage a Bachelor of Science. But at the same time, I looked for opportunities at within my university to start working on my portfolio and honing my skills as a medical illustrator. So I ended up at a lab where I had a thesis on drawing Drosophila genitalia. So here are vials of Drosophila, and I would dissect their genitalia, and I would put it under a microscope and draw them. So like this was kind of my first experience in the world of scientific and medical illustration, and the work that I was doing was describing species, and at the same time, the image on the right, uh, it was it was important to describe these species because we had to identify potential pests. So the image on the right is of spotted wing Drosophila, and the females have this serrated edge on their ovipositor, so they're able to lay eggs on fruit that's not ripe yet, and that has a huge economical impact for agriculture. So that was the first time where I kind of pieced together like, oh, art and science, they're closely related and they actually help each other kind of achieve their goals. So yeah, that was my kind of first job as a scientific illustrator in undergrad. Then I went to school for a Master of Science, and now I'm a medical animator. Um, so I'll just quickly go through some of my non-medical art. Actually, just one project that I'm working on currently. In addition to being a medical animator, I was also an athlete, and I was on Team Canada for kendo. So recently, during the lockdown, I've had time on my hands, so I've been working on creating a coloring book. And if you're interested, you can follow my work on Instagram, and I'll be posting my work and tutorials as I work towards publishing this coloring book. So maybe this is something also that you're interested in, that you can do as a hobby. Yeah. Um, And at the end of the day, like it's important to do what you love, um, and also nurture the talents that you have. Uh, so I really like the term ikigai. It's kind of like a mix of, well, you can see from the chart, it's finding out what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and also what you can get paid for. So I hope all of you guys continue with art if that is what you love, and really kind of take a look at what it is you can do with it that you can make a living out of. And I'm happy just to discuss if you are also passionate about science and science communication and you want to explore a career in medical illustration. You can reach me. Um, you can feel free to email me. You can also check out my work on my website, and feel free to follow me on Instagram. So I will take questions if anybody has any.
Thank you so much. Yes, questions now. So you can just unmute. There's only Dory just joined as well. She's in grade 9. But yeah, just unmute or write in the chat if you have any questions. If not, I'll ask.
I have a question.
Sorry.
So it looks like you started off with more traditional fine art, and then now it seems like you do a lot of animation. How was, I guess, learning how to do that? And did you kind of have to do that for your job, or did you kind of teach yourself before going into work like that?
So yeah, that's a good point. I everything I did prior to going into the medical illustration graduate program was traditional work. So the graduate programs will teach you a lot of the 3D programs that you will need to know going into the industry. And yes, it is necessary for my job to be able to navigate through the 3D programs and like CG art. But yeah, the graduate programs will teach you those things. Um, you can always get started on your own. There are various resources that you can learn online, YouTube videos, or Toronto Public Library will give you access to lynda.com, and you can learn tons of stuff from there. I'm constantly still learning. At my job right now, we're trying different software to kind of expedite our process of producing our work. So I'm starting off fresh again, learning a new program, software. I think the most important thing is to hone your problem solving skills and just keep training your kind of visual eye, because that will be constant no matter what medium you use, whether it's CG or traditional, understanding like lighting and form. That's always going to be important. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you. I have another question. So I'm also really interested in art and science, but I'm not really interested in biology as much. Do you know if there's other programs where you do similar things, except without the biology or medical component to them?
Um, the programs will focus quite heavily on medical work. However, like for example, uh, let me ask you, what kind of science are you interested in?
I'm more interested in chemistry.
Chemistry? Okay. Um, there there are avenues to visualize that as well. Um, there if you look at your textbook, there are illustrations, and there are opportunities for that. The work that I've been involved with is directly with hospitals, so that is very medical and biology based. Right now, majority of the things I do involve like proteins and understanding basic like physiology and biological processes. In order to get into one of those programs, though, I believe it for most of the programs it is a requirement for you to take biology courses. But you can always check out the programs. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no problem.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lauren. Mimi, Ella, or Dory, is there anything you'd like to ask? No pressure.
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, do you keep your art for fun separate from the art you do for your job? And like, how do you differentiate between the two?
Yeah, I definitely keep them separate. Like the work that I'm doing for fun right now is very different from the stuff that I'm doing at work. Um, I just at the end of the day, I pick up my tablet and I start drawing things that I'm interested in, and my personal work has really changed throughout the years as well. I don't like paint or anything as much anymore, just due to time constraints. But it's like any kind of hobby, just make time for it after work, and you hammer it out. Yeah, it's not hard to kind of switch my brain from the medical work and my personal work. And I think one of the things that held me back from doing art as a career was that it was so personal to me. I didn't like having people telling me what is good art and what is not. Um, a lot of my art teachers criticized me for being too detail oriented and not conceptual enough. And that wasn't real art. I was an illustrator, not an artist, and all these labels. So that's one of the reasons why I was like, I don't want to do art for a job, because I don't want that kind of criticism. But I think what is great about science, doing medical illustration, is that science, your work will be based on facts. There's like real data and there's just like made up junk, right? So when my art directors or my boss tells me to redo something, I have a different mindset towards the work that I do at the studio, because I understand that the constraints are science. I'm drawing based on science. I'm drawing based on the structure that the data is giving me and the research papers are giving me. So for me, it's a lot more easier for me to digest criticisms, to redo my artwork in certain styles, and the styles also help with the communication. If it's too complex, you have too much visual noise, it's going to be hard for the viewer to understand. So for me, that's kind of another reason why I went into this, was because I felt like I could do this as a job. And then my personal work is stuff that I put my feelings and like my love and all of that into. And that's mine. Like I don't really care what anybody else thinks about it. If you hate it, you hate it. I don't care. That's for me. And there's a space for that as well. But yeah, I think the fact that all of my work at work is tied to medical and scientific knowledge, I'm able to do that as a job and let go of kind of I don't take the criticism personally.
Okay, thanks. That's really insightful.
No problem.
Thank you so much. I think it is time for us to head to our next class, unfortunately, unless there's any like pressing question that anyone would like to ask. But Manson, thank you so much.
No problem.
Been very inspired by your artwork from residence days. And I'll be sure to share, if you don't mind, your Instagram handle and other information so that we can enjoy your art even more.
Sure. I can give you a list of resources as well, like links. There's, if you want to find out more, you can check out Association of Medical Illustrators, and you'll find tons of work. I feel like I just scratched the surface of what a medical illustrator is, but hopefully that will get you guys thinking about various career paths you can have.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's amazing. It really, really is amazing. I'm really glad you shared this with us. And I apologize once again to everyone for the technical difficulty. I have no idea what I've done wrong, but I did something wrong. Yeah. So thank you from all of us. And I look forward to passing on the information and and to look into your artwork even more. So Ella, Mimi, Lauren, Dory, and Miss B, you're welcome to stay on if you have any other questions, or else you're welcome to go to your next class.
Thank you for taking your lunch and listening to me rant.
No, it was
Talk
amazing.
about me.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Problem. Yeah, so, like, feel free to email me or anything. I'm happy to help because I've gotten a lot of guidance in my career as well.
It's inspiring to hear as well as an art teacher how it affected you, like the feedback you got as well. So I really appreciate that. You taught me something as well. Yeah. Yeah. So anyone else? We call it a day? Okay.
I was gonna say I really enjoyed seeing this since my mom, she's a doctor. She's recently working with this kind of field of like AI and including those aspects into her medical work. Personally, I'm not interested in this specific field, but I really like seeing like the combination of those arts and scientific fields together.
Thank you. Yeah, as long as you enjoyed it.
Awesome. Wonderful. Well, Dorian, Lauren, and Mimi, thank you for your questions. And Ella, did you have anything to share? Are you good? I think she's good. Okay. Wonderful. I will say goodbye to you all. I'll stay here till the end, but I'll say bye to you all, and I hope to see you all around. Mans and you as well. I hope to see you soon.
Yeah, hopefully face to face. Yeah, I'll stay until you guys go.
Wonderful. Oh, I think it froze.
Oh, I didn't even realize I'm still presenting.
That's okay. That's okay. I didn't want to interrupt. Thank you so much.
Oh, no problem. All right.
Recording now. I should stop recording. There we go.